Live and let live. We're highlighting small businesses this week and talking to organizations impacting entrepreneurship. One of those groups is Powermoves, a national initiative seeking to boost minority entrepreneurship. Joining us now is Carla Harris, Vice Chairman of Global Wealth Management at Morgan Stanley, and Earl Robinson, President of Powermoves. Welcome to both of you to Arise Exchange, and thank you for coming here. This is a really interesting group. It began in New Orleans, and I'm going to ask you why and what was your success record there?
Yes, well, actually, Earl is the mastermind behind Powermoves, but Morgan Stanley was involved because we're in the business of bringing great companies to the market, both the public market and the private market, and bringing leaders to our investor community and connecting them with institutional capital.
And let me ask you about that, because for too long, large banks have been accused and investment firms have been accused of not supporting minority entrepreneurship.
Quite frankly, what makes this partnership very special is Morgan Stanley saw the benefit and the upside of inclusive innovation and supporting minority entrepreneurship very early on. So they were the first institution that said, listen, what you're doing in New Orleans is wonderful, but you should take inclusive innovation on the road, and it should be national. So they underwrote our expansion in our programming and activation in Detroit.
And you started in New Orleans, and now you're in Detroit, which has one of the toughest obstacles certainly to climb. Yep. It is entrepreneurship, it is small businesses that lead people to prosperity, isn't it?
Absolutely. Small businesses employ the vast majority of folks in the country. And small businesses and medium-sized businesses generate a significant amount of personal wealth for individuals. So our thought was, while the Fortune 500 and 100 are going to do well and prosper and the capital markets are there for them, we needed to build something that was specifically for emerging industries, small businesses, and entrepreneurs.
Carla, this starts, though, on the education level, getting people interested in entrepreneurship, that they can go out there and take the risk. So how do you do that before you ever get them any money?
Well, I have to tell you, Andrew, I think people are, in fact, interested in starting their own business. The issue is access to capital and access to the information around how do I scale after I originate, how do I think about building my businesses with the right people. So I think that this is a great combination, because obviously we have the know-how in terms of how to get to capital, how to prepare yourself so that you are attractive to sources of capital. And what Powermoves has done is they have a very scalable model of knowing how to identify the right entrepreneurs and actually do all the due diligence so that they are ready, frankly, for both institutional and individual capital.
What kind of companies are you looking at? What are the specific sort of wheelhouses that you're looking at to invest in?
So we focus on two verticals: tech companies and high growth companies. So you'll see everything from advanced manufacturing companies to advanced logistics companies to iPhone apps. So it's a fairly broad range, health and beauty products, a fairly broad range of high tech, iPhone apps, and high growth companies.
I looked at the notes. You're saying that Detroit is trying to reclassify itself as a tech city.
Exactly.
Which sounds like pretty hard to do.
It's somewhat hard to do. However, they're getting it right in that what they figured out is the GMs and the Fords of the world are always going to be there. But there's a bit of a cap on the number of employees that they'll have going forward. So the future of Detroit, quite frankly, lies in, I should say, small and medium-sized businesses growing in that city, tech businesses growing, and hiring folks in that region.
Carla, the knock on the banks right now, whether it's their fault or the government's fault, is that they're not lending money at historically cheap rates, by the way, because there's too many regulations, there's too much paperwork to go through, and they're hoarding the cash for when interest rates rise.
Well, I think you're starting to see now, and certainly you're starting to hear in popular business press that's actually changing. And I think there are banks that have been out there, especially in the last 2 or 3 years, that have been extending capital to small businesses. And as you know, Andrew, small businesses were the strongest generator of new jobs throughout the financial crisis. So I think things are certainly starting to shift, and we have certainly seen a shift in our business, no question.
And do you think that's from a top-down strategy at Morgan Stanley that is saying get more money into all businesses and minority businesses?
Oh, no question about it. And as you know, we're not a traditional bank. We are a bank holding company as a result of the financial services company, and we do have one of the largest banks now in the world. And we have a top-down strategy that says let's get capital out in the right hands, and let's bring great opportunities to both our individual and our institutional investors.
How much money have you given so far?
We're not lending in that sense of the word. We actually are trying to provide equity sources of capital.
Oh, so you're putting people together.
Which is, frankly, Andrew, the hardest capital for entrepreneurs to get. If you have a good credit status, you can get loans, but getting that equity capital has really been the challenge for both women and minority entrepreneurs, and that's where we are being quite helpful.
Earl, walk me through the process here. There's a business, a small business that is interested in participating.
So we do national outreach to small and medium-sized businesses that are high growth or high tech. We screen, call it 500 or so businesses a year, and we shrink that population down to a group of about 100. And we do calls and video conferencing with all of those companies, and we shrink that group down to a core group of 20 that will then vet, and we'll put them through, if they're pre-revenue, what's called a boot camp. And if they're generating revenue, we put them through pitch competitions, one of which, or quite frankly, two of which Morgan Stanley has sponsored.
What is the obstacles that you face?
Quite frankly, there are obstacles around perception. If you think about, generally speaking, high growth and high tech entrepreneurs, theoretically, they've looked one way for about the last 15 years. And we're showing the marketplace that there's no kind of ethnicity or gender that has dominion over brilliance. So we're bringing a different type of entrepreneur and brilliance to the market.
Are you focusing too much on tech? Don't we need to be doing other things in this country as well?
Which is why, quite frankly, we're tech and high growth. So you'll find maker companies, you'll find advanced manufacturing companies, transportation, logistics.
Retail.
We've looked at food service, we've looked at retail, health and beauty products. So we're somewhat diverse because we think that they're great entrepreneurs in a number of verticals.
Okay, and people can learn more at Powermoves.org.
Powermoves.Nola.org.
Powermoves.Nola.org. Thank you so much. Earl Robinson, president of Power Moves, and Carla Harris, vice chairwoman of Global Wealth Management at Morgan Stanley. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Jim.
Thank you very
talking
much.
with you, both of you. Ahead, why the trade deficit caught most by surprise. You're watching Arise Exchange.